in the Middle East in Oman for the 2023 Tour of Oman to find out what makes this race different, specifically the starts, interacting with the riders, and how does it compare to a European race. Let's talk to Davide. Davide, what makes a start at the Tour of Oman different from a race in Europe for you?
We don't have the buses.
No buses.
Is which day is it? 12 February?
Yeah.
13 February is 33 degrees. Quite different than European weather.
Davide Formula right there giving us the lowdown. We have one of the journalists working on the ground, Chris Marshall-Bell. Chris, what do you think is different about working at a race like the Tour of Oman, low-key versus something in Europe?
Biggest difference that I've noticed is that, we don't see the riders on an intimate basis at a World Tour race like the Tour de France or the Vuelta a España. Here we've got the toilets.
And this is probably one of the biggest complaints of everybody here, especially for the riders. They have to use the porta potties instead of having their own toilets on the team buses. So they need to wait in line, queue up, and inside the conditions may not always be clean. So the riders are getting ready, and you can just roam right into the team parking here. Everything's accessible. The riders are preparing. Over here you see the team of AG2R, Greg Van Avermaet, and they just found a spot in the shade. The team's brought the plastic folding chairs here so they can have a place to sit down and change their shoes. I don't know if you can see right over there, lurking in the shadows. Well, that's the American Matteo Jorgensen. He has fair skin, so he always needs to be protected from this hot Middle Eastern heat. What makes racing in the Middle East, these starts, different than what we experience in Europe?
Well, it's February and it's like 80 degrees Fahrenheit out here, so that's the difference. In Europe it's probably raining and a bit cold, but
this is much more low-key, and for me, I like the intimacy, like just being able to go up to the teams and the riders. And I guess also there's some negatives with that too. You guys got to change out in the public, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, me too. It looks like they're closing the gates here,
so we got to get out of the mosque.
Yes.
Well, I pray that you have a good ride today. Like in Europe, you have helicopters, you hear them overhead. That means the stage is about to start. They have the TV coverage. The team cars here at these smaller races, because we're not in Europe, they can't use their own team cars. So the organization provides the cars and the teams put on their stickers, and that's the only indication of the colors of the team. You see the purple colors of Burgos BH, Giuseppe Ruggieri. These guys used to work together. This is Rolf Aldag. Rolf, if I can interrupt for 1 minute, how is being at the start of a race like this different than what we have in Europe? Obviously you're not in your normal team car for Borhansgrohe.
It's a lot of freestyling. You can also call it pure cycling.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's like, well, you're not showcasing like your partners with €1 million bus and all that logistic around it.
This is like turning the clock back, I think, to the 1980s racing in Europe. More accessible DSs, more accessible riders. Everything's kind of low key. You guys can't hide in your big shiny buses, and Rolf is driving an MG. You don't see MG cars often in Europe. I never see them in Europe. Rolf, have you ever driven an MG?
Yes.
I learned how to drive on an MG. And another difference here, well, we don't have the big sign-in podium. We don't have the announcer giving the riders' names as they go up to the board, and we see all the riders have signed in. And check this out, even the Japanese team right there, we got the characters. The riders here are in the shade and they're on the start line. And we are getting out of here. You can't really do this much anymore at European races. Just mix right through the start line and work your way to your car. It's the low key, it's the intimacy. This is what you get in Middle Eastern racing. Sure, they're not seen by many fans, but it's a great place to start your season, and it's a great place to interact with the riders and the sports directors and get a feel of racing how it used to be.